Okay, how can Trump not be a racist if he can't take that low a ball?
That is an interesting question, right?
Hey everybody, I would like to take a moment to thank Javier for coming on the show. We had a great discussion, and I'm really glad to have these discussions with all my many diverse friends. Before I show you this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Hit the bell so that you're notified when new videos come on. And throw me some support with PayPal or Subscribestar. That would be great. And now, here's Javier.
Javier.
What's up?
Thanks for joining me on my channel. It's good to see you again. I was on your channel a little while ago, and we had a really good discussion. And
Right.
I'm really glad to have you on here as as time continues to progress. Oh
That's a
my
way to put it.
goodness! So, Javier, why don't you tell everybody on my channel who you are and why you're here?
I am Javier. Make sure you say it twice. The host and the creator of the Javier Show on YouTube. I talk all things politics, religion, and culture. That's usually my stick, and it ranges from all different subjects. It's a great channel.
Yeah, and the reason that we have been attracted to each other is on the race question. As I have been going through this change, this change that everybody on my channel is aware of, that I am, I don't like to use the term red pilling because it sounds so generic, and I'm not switching over, and I'm still not a Trump supporter, but um,
You're on the purple
as
pill. You're on the
I'm
purple pill
purple.
right
Yeah,
now.
I'm purple, and it's and and I'm stupid. I'm pissed off about being purple. I'm purple, and I'm angry because, as far as I'm concerned, I believe it is the left's fault that I'm purple. I believe the
Mm,
left has left me and everything, and that the right is becoming more blue. Um, but Javier, I wanted to get you on here because I really because you're a black conservative.
yes.
And last time I was my last guest on my show was Steve Hill, another friend of mine, a liberal, black liberal.
Mm,
And you know, the more I listen to black conservatives, the more sense you make.
thank you.
And and I've never really had that experience before. I mean, now don't get me wrong. Most black conservatives that I've been listening to are religious. And when they flip on that religious stuff in their videos, I mean, it's like it's like, ah, you know,
Yeah, I feel
these
the
guys are
same way.
great, these guys are brilliant, this guy's wonderful, ah.
I feel the same way. I start to tune out on that.
So tell me, um, where you stand politically now. Did you see the debate?
I did. I made a video about that debate. I was so disappointed. I lost some subscribers just by telling it how it was. I think Trump did a horrible job on that debate stage.
Yeah.
Um, I was very disappointed in his performance. I think Biden didn't do good, but I think Biden was what was expected, and that was good enough for most people. So those people on the left are going to be more like, oh well, Biden wasn't rude. He wasn't acting like a big baby. But at the same time, I didn't see Biden as a strong leader. And on the
Yeah.
other hand, I saw Donald Trump being very aggressive, overly aggressive, which was a bad taste for most people. Even conservatives are saying that. So um, I left the debate really thinking like, yo, our country is, I don't want to say the word, but effed up right now. It, even where I am right now, I'm kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. And I like Trump. I like a lot of things about Trump that he has done. There are things that Trump has done that I totally disagree with. Some of the things that he says, I'm pretty sure most of us can agree are horrible and we don't like that kind of personality running our country. That's a given. But when you get down to the issues and you get down to the actual policies, we don't know where a lot of people stand on these issues. Joe Biden wouldn't even answer the question on whether or not if he would pack the Supreme Court, for instance.
Right.
And
Scary
that was,
freaking thing, right?
yes, that was the big one for me. It's like, if you're not going to do it, why not say you're not going to do it? He doesn't want to commit to it, and that really bothers me. As far as policy goes, like Donald Trump was very disappointing when it came to the whole, white supremacy thing. Even though I think the question was, there's multiple videos of Donald Trump condemning white supremacy or saying that he doesn't.
Yeah,
he
but I mean, it was a lowball question. I mean,
yeah.
it was like Mike Wallace said, "White supremacy bad, right?" And and he couldn't say yes, white supremacy bad.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like, it's a simple, I condemn white supremacy in all shapes, forms, and fashions,
Yeah,
whichever way it shows its ugly head.
right.
Simple, simple.
I saw Ted Cruz do it just today on CNN,
Yeah, you
and it
see,
was real simple and clean, and it was very effective. And I mean, do you think Trump's? I mean, okay, how can Trump not be a racist if he can't take that low a ball?
that is an interesting question, right? I On face value, you could look at Trump and say, it's obvious Trump's a racist,
Yeah,
but it's muddy water there, because there are multiple instances where Trump seems to not be a racist,
uh-huh.
and you don't know how to separate fact from fiction. What's just pandering to a certain group to make it seem like you're not a racist. But also, if Trump didn't want to be seen as a racist, he's doing a horrible job at doing it.
Right, right,
So it's kind of like, people don't give Trump enough credit, but then they give him too much credit. It's like, Trump is an idiot, Trump is dumb, but then some people try to treat him like a mastermind, like he's dog whistling to the races and he's doing all of these things that's on the surface you can't tell. Either the man is not that bright or he is,
right.
and people have a hard time distinguishing between those two.
Well, there's my problem, right? Because I'm actually considering voting for this guy, and either he's not bright, in which case he's not bright, or he is bright, in which case he just really went out of his way to not condemn white supremacy. Because if he's a moron, I can say, okay, he fucked up. But if he's smart, and white supremacy bad, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
was literally the question. White supremacy bad, right? And if he couldn't do that. I mean, so I'm trying to like Trump. Okay,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that really, except for the fact that I'm trying to like Trump, and every time I look at him, I don't like him. Every time because of this, I wanted him to dominate Biden. It reminds me. You just said something. It reminds me of the Bush v. Gore debates
Oh yeah.
back in the day, and I remember being a lefty bluey at the time, but I think I still maintain this opinion that Al Gore was way smarter than George W. Bush. And I remember going into the debate that all George W. Bush had to do, I remember people talking about this. All he had to do was say his name right. All he had to do was pronounce nuclear correctly. All he had to do was just tread water and he'll be fine. And he did, because Al Gore went out there and he was smart, but George W. Bush wasn't a moron. And that was his expectations. And so I looked at Biden, and I mean, look,
It's
the
it's
man.
a double-edged sword. Like, a lot of people are treating it like, we could say that Donald Trump messed up, but everybody who wants to point out that Donald Trump really messed up they're using it as a way to ignore how bad Biden was as well.
Yeah.
So on the surface, it's like, oh, look how bad Donald Trump was. Okay, let's talk about it. Now, when we finish talking about it, now let's talk about how Joe Biden couldn't answer the questions about his son. Let's talk about Joe Biden and law and order. Let's talk about Joe Biden when it comes to packing the Supreme Court. Let's talk
Antifa.
about it. Antifa.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. But so the best way to avoid that is look what Donald Trump avoided, saying white supremacy was evil, and anybody who's an undecided voter or anybody who's trying to take an honest approach at the policies between these two guys is so much caught up into the rhetoric. It's so much caught up into who we hate and who we don't like. And reasonable people should be looking at the policies. And I think that's what they want. They want to avoid when it comes to you. To them it's simple, and to you it's not that simple.
I mean, if I go policies alone, if I Javier, I'm just so socially I'm a liberal, okay? I'm a socially liberal guy. I am pro-choice. I am pro-gay rights, LGBTQ. I am pro-death with dignity. I am maybe pro-universal basic income. And what he has done to the Supreme Court in that view is terrible. It's terrible. One might say that damage is already done. And one might say, his policy on NAFTA was probably pretty great, and his opportunity zones apparently worked very well. And minority unemployment was way down. All unemployment was way down. And
it really doesn't matter. I think what matters the most to most voters is who they like the best. What personality do they really like, to be honest. You could find a way to justify who you're going to vote for one way or the other. That's just the truth of the matter of the fact. And we have to be honest about what predicament we're actually in. Most people are thinking about domestically. I tend to think more foreign than I actually think domestically. China is a big threat to America. This is something that we aren't talking about. I'm watching documentaries on how China's expanded in all markets. I'm talking about down to wine. I mean, they are trying to make big power moves on the world stage. People in America tend to think short-sighted when it comes to the privilege that we have. Most people enjoy the privileges, but they complain about how horrible America is. There are forces out there who are nothing like America, who's trying to take over the world stage.
Yeah.
And when I look at Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, who do I honestly think will deal with China in a more emboldened way? I think it's Trump. I think Trump.
I would agree with you definitely on that. But I'm having a lot of trouble because it's like you said, it's about who you like. And so what I'm garnering from this is, here's a man, Donald Trump, you can't say he's not a racist, but you're willing to. So if Donald Trump was a racist, would you still vote for him because of his policies?
Look, some of the best friends that I have are kind of racist, I mean, if we're being honest, I know there's this narrative going out right now that black people can't be racist, but that's just false. I know plenty of racist black people, and we get along just fine, right? Most world leaders throughout history have not been the greatest of people. If we're being honest historically, we like to think that our president should speak well and he should hold himself to a certain standard, and that's fine. That's icing on the cake. But when it comes down to getting things done, I don't care if my president curses every other word. What are you doing? That's what should matter. Because you could be the nicest person in the world and screw us all over. You know what I mean?
Right. And you could be the worst person in the world, but be a great leader.
Exactly.
And so when I look at, I'm in Washington. I'm in the state of Washington. and Washington is going to vote blue. Washington. So in reality, my vote doesn't count. Okay. I think that my vote in my brain is the most important vote I've ever cast because it's the first time that I'm actually considering not voting blue. And every time I think about voting red, I get chills. But then I think about voting blue and I get more chills.
Yeah.
Are you a Republican? Are you going to vote for Trump?
I'm not a Republican, and honestly, at this point, I really don't know which way I'm actually going. I do lean more towards Trump than I actually do Biden at the moment, and it may be for different reasons than other people. I care about my Second Amendment right. I think Joe Biden is threatening to go after the gun manufacturers and put a lot of pressure on them, which may kind of cripple the gun industry a lot. I care if he's going to pack the Supreme Court. That matters politically, and that matters for the future, continuing future, 100 years from now for America, which I think is very important.
Yeah,
But
I really can't support that either.
yeah, so I'm at this point where, to me, you vote how you vote, honestly. And let's be honest, none of us really know what Joe Biden is going to do when he gets elected. And none of us really knows what Trump is going to do when he gets reelected. We are only hoping that these guys are going to keep the word that they say they're going to do, right?
Right.
So at some point, you just got to decide. And you just got to say, you know what? I made the best decision for what I had. You know, you got people right now trying to blame Trump supporters for voting for Trump in 2016. You didn't know what Donald Trump was going to do. We didn't know about COVID-19. We didn't know these things were going to happen. You
Right.
cannot predict the future, but what you can do is make a decision and hope for the best. That's all you can do.
Make a decision and hope for the best. That's your
That's all you can
that's
do.
your words. But I mean, I am sweating this decision, this meaningless in the big picture decision. I am sweating it. I am, I'm, I think, from that debate, I think Joe Biden is clearly in mental decline. Okay, he's still got most of his faculties, but he's not the man he used to be. It's true.
Mm.
And that
He's
means Kamala Harris is going to be president.
Yes, he's a Trojan horse. That's all he is. We know this.
Yeah.
We know that Joe Biden is not the one that's going to be taking the charge. He's not going to be around for long.
And so the question is Kamala Harris a Trojan horse for the moderates or a Trojan horse for the far left? I don't actually know.
Far
But
left.
She seems to be a Trojan horse for the far left.
Far left. I'm willing to bet my lunch on this one. Kamala Harris goes where the wind blows. She is an opportunistic politician at heart. This is the same woman who said that we should believe the women who accused Joe Biden of the sexual assault. But now she's jumping right on board with Joe Biden. She's the same woman that accused Joe Biden of being a racist. And she's right on board with Joe Biden. She's an opportunistic. And I guarantee you the pressure of the far left will get to her. Hands down.
Is Joe Biden a racist?
I think Joe Biden's a racist.
I do too. I do too.
I think he has the kind of racist that slips out and then he's like, oh my gosh, I just let that slip out.
Yeah. All you black people vote alike, right? Not like those Latinos.
That's
a pretty racist statement. That's not like shithole countries. Okay, that's a racist statement.
Yeah. That's kind of like the fundamental, aspect of being a racist. It's kind of like grouping everybody in based on a characteristic.
That's the definition,
right?
that's the definition. That's what he did, and he's done it a few times. And I'm looking at a racist and a race baiter versus Donald Trump and a theocrat. And Donald Trump, I'm not going to label Donald Trump because he's just Donald Trump. And
nobody can take the high ground on this one. Nobody. The liberals can't and the conservatives can't. The liberals can't sit here and say, we got the high ground because you gave us Joe Biden. There were plenty of other Democrats up there running. You gave us Joe Biden. The right, you gave us Donald Trump. Nobody can take the high ground. You can sit up here all day and say Joe Biden is better than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is horrible. But at the end of the day, y'all had you had Andrew Yang, you had Tulsi Gabbard, you had all of these different choices to choose from, but you went with Joe Biden. And now he's saying all black people thinking like, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah.
And especially me as a black person, you would think, how you gonna come at me about not voting for Biden when this guy is saying these type of things? And then you can say Donald Trump says racist things all the time. True, but what has Donald Trump done to hurt the black community? I'll wait. You know, I hear people say, "Well, I don't like him." Give me some things that Donald Trump has done personally that has hurt the black community. I'll wait.
Mm.
You know, but
Yeah.
as soon as you say Joe Biden, you bring up the crime bill.
Yeah.
That's the first thing coming to people's minds.
Right.
So anybody who's out there trying to act like it's a simple decision, in a certain way, it feels like a privilege to me. It feels like, oh, you have the privilege of voting for Joe Biden because you don't know people personally who's been locked up. 3 strikes, you out. You don't know those type of people. You don't know how it feels to be told as a black man that if you don't vote for me, somehow you're not black enough, or you don't know what that feels like. And then you're gonna tell me that Donald Trump, if I vote for Donald Trump, I'm somehow doing what to the black community? Because I
Betraying
don't. Yeah,
you're betraying your blackness.
exactly. So make a decision. That's all I can do. If at the end of the day, they don't require a test to vote. You don't have to take certain, tests and pass with a passing grade to vote. So that lets me know that you don't have to know anything about politics, and you can walk into that ballot box and you can click red or blue, right? That's the system we live in. So you don't want to require a test. Stop being mad for people voting the way that they personally feel benefits them.
Right.
And if Joe Biden's your guy, more power to you. If Donald Trump's your guy, more power to you. And we can argue policies all day, but at the end of the day, this is what you get. I talked to your boy also. I talked to Aaron Foster.
Oh, how did that go?
That was a 3.5-hour conversation.
Ah.
Yeah.
Did you talk about whether the N-word is a pejorative?
We didn't.
I'm sorry, whether racist is a pejorative?
We actually didn't. We did. You came up a few times.
I did.
You actually did. Because I was trying to clear up some of the things that I thought you all was missing each other on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we got into issues about. We talked a little about religion. We got deep into the black community. That really was the main focus. And we talked about conservatism. Talked about progressiveness, being a progressive. It's a great conversation. The people that were commenting really enjoyed it. But I think you came up about 3 times, and I tried to explain to him the totem pole that you was trying to set up when it says that all these other issues that the black community face, but somehow racism is here. But we're giving racism so much more energy than all the other things that affect black people on a much larger scale. So I was trying to explain that to him. We got into that. So I think the conversation went well. I'm actually gonna post it on my channel.
Oh, well, I would love. I'll tell you what. Why don't you send me the link and I'll put it in the description for this?
Oh,
Because
sounds
and
good.
I definitely want to hear that. You
Yeah.
said 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, we talked about a lot.
You and Arian Foster duking it out over politics for 3.5 hours. All right, I'm going to listen to that one.
Oh yeah.
I'm having so much fun going through this process of mine, Javier. I mean, it's difficult, but I am learning a lot, and I am relearning. I don't want to say that, but I'm reappreciating the value of diversity of thought, diversity in its real context, which is diversity of thought, not a whole bunch of different skin colors all agreeing on the same thing, but a whole bunch of diversity of thought, everybody bringing in the different perspectives. And I am just, I find myself just listening to a lot of black people talk about race.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of black people talk about race. I've learned that white people have no fucking idea what they're talking about. We have every right to speak, and we should speak, but when it comes to race, um, uh, I shouldn't say white people don't know what they're talking about, but a lot of white people are just so consumed with white guilt that they just follow along the most, what's the word I'm looking for? The most redemptive path.
Yeah.
Um, if they were to take a path of white guilt, if they were to assume their guilt, they just take the most redemptive, most penitent path.
I couldn't
And
wake up tomorrow as a white guy because I wouldn't give a fuck. Like, we can't live in a country where you holding people hostage for something they had nothing to do with. Um, we have to move together, not by a gun, not with a gun to somebody's head. We have to say we all in this together. And sorry, but the same people who talk about diversity don't want diversity when it comes to talking about black issues. Oh, we don't want a white person speaking on this issue. Sorry, but white people exist. We in this country as well, right?
mm,
Um, and just like I speak on white people issues all the time.
sure,
The white single motherhood is up as well as the black single motherhood. It's just up more in the black community for certain reasons.
mm,
But that's a problem the white community should be talking about as well.
uh-huh, I
Yeah,
agree.
so we in this together. We can't move forward without each other. You know what I mean? So I'm not really this whole type of person where you're not black, you shouldn't be talking about this and talking about that. Just talk about it from your perspective, what you experienced. And look, people have some good ideas who are white. For example, I give you this: Sam Harris, right?
Yeah,
Sam Harris pretty much agrees with you when it comes to the race issue, when it comes to policing and police brutality, right? People don't really go after Sam Harris as hard as they go after you because you're actually talking about who you're going to vote for. They
yeah.
assume that Sam Harris is going to vote Joe Biden. Let's say he may be. But what if Sam Harris was going to vote for Donald Trump? He's not going to tell them. you
This
know,
is true. This is true. I
they
mean, I have taken a tremendous amount of shit simply by saying I'm undecided.
that's where it
Simply
is.
by saying I'm undecided. Um,
That's where you messed up. If you was talking about the issues and you never brought up who you was going to vote for, people would receive you totally different.
yeah, you're probably right there, Javier.
They care about how you vote. They don't care about what you really think. They want you to vote the way they want you to vote. That's what really matters to them.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they got the silent majority. There are plenty of people out there voting for Donald Trump who never says a word. You know,
I don't know though. I mean, he's such an asshole, man.
this is horrible, bro. Like
Such an asshole.
we live in a simulation of some sort because
What the fuck? I think it is a simulation. I mean, come on. This is what we're choosing between. I mean, it's look at what we're choosing between.
hmm it's it's a tough pill to swallow. That purple pill, huh?
Man, I tweeted the other day that it feels like when I was watching the debate, it felt like each party was trying to get me to vote to the other side. They were knocking me back and forth like ping pong because Trump would say something asinine and then Biden would say something wrong and then Trump would say something wrong and Biden would say something wrong. It was just awful.
Yeah. I want to say something. I
Yeah.
think your listeners might really appreciate this.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people pointing the fingers at Donald Trump and pointing the finger at Joe Biden. I don't point the fingers at either one of them. We created this system to where if you run for president, you get drugged through the mud. It only encourages a process where the worst amongst us that actually gets elevated. Imagine a good guy, intelligent guy who really wants what's best for this country. Imagine him trying to run for president and you get attacked for any and every single thing. People start digging through everything you said on Twitter, everything you said on Facebook, what you did in high school. We created a system where only the people who don't care will run for president.
Yeah.
So this is what you get. I don't know what else you expect. The problem ain't them. The problem is what we have set the requirements at, where the requirements are set in a society. And now it's time to relax a little bit. So I don't care who wins, whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden. The next 4 years, I think I'm going to dedicate my time with other people trying to create an alternative than the system that we have. We have to get out of this system. Because whether you vote Democrat or Republican, we all realize that crony capitalism is the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
We all know that the government and corporations are in bed together, screwing over the small people. We have to create an alternative, a big enough movement to where either they change or we force them out.
So are you familiar with the Unity 2020 campaign?
Yeah, you told me about it. I actually looked into it.
Yeah. They already folded. But I agree with you, man. I agree with you. We've got two shitty choices and two shitty parties. And neither party represents my views anymore. I can't go Republican because of the social issues, and I can't go left because of the stupidity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the same boat. Like, I was a hardcore atheist, and then I saw what the atheist community was becoming, and I just had to back out. Wokeism took over everything, and it's all about who the purity test. It's all about who's more woke than the next woke, and if you're not
Yeah.
woke enough, you get kicked out.
I did.
And and we fight back. We refuse to be shut down. You cannot cancel somebody who says hell no, hell no, hell no. I'm not going to be silenced regardless. There are more people make sense than those who don't. The radicals do not run the country. The radicals are not the majority. Just say hell no. I guarantee you there are enough reasonable people out there who just say, you know what, I'm with David. You know. And that's where we got to stand. And I realize that the people on the right and the people on the left, they all agree on a lot of issues, you know?
Yeah. And I think I think we do. I mean, I think we do all agree on a lot of issues. And I just wish we could find a better method to investigate where we are common versus where we are bad, where we are not. Anyways, final thoughts, Javier. What is your prediction for the next debate, and what is your prediction for the election?
I'm looking forward to Kamala Harris debating Pence. My prediction for the next debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is going to be a little bit more reserved than he was the last time. I think they're going to prep him to be a whole lot more reserved. I think Joe Biden is going to try to be even more reserved because he's going to assume that Donald Trump is going to come out swinging like he did the last time, which I think will be a mistake. That's my prediction for that. My prediction for the election.
What's your prediction for the vice presidential debate? What's your prediction for the vice president? Because I have one of those.
I don't see how Kamala Harris can outdo Pence. I think Pence is not a Donald Trump. I think Pence is going to perform very well. Kamala Harris has way more dirt on her than Mike Pence does. The worst you can say about Mike Pence is he's a freaking religious fanatic.
Right.
But Kamala Harris is literally running for vice president under a dude she accused of maybe being a sexual assaulter or a racist. You know, I don't know how you can't win against that. You know.
Right.
So
Pence, all right.
Yeah, Pence is much more reserved than Donald Trump ever is. So I think he's going to prep and he's going to actually conduct himself in a much more likely manner. Kamala Harris is going to do that little funny laugh.
I mean, I envision Kamala Harris will come out thirsting for blood.
She will. But
you think Pence is going to come out too like that, swinging?
No, he's going to do it elegantly. Yeah. He's a reserved guy. She's going to come out for blood, but he's just not a reactive kind of guy. He's a well more thought out guy, and I think that's what she's going to mess up at. He's going to be ready for her. But as far as my prediction for the election go, Donald Trump is doing horribly in the polls, but I assume that if Joe Biden doesn't make any more mistakes that's going to cost him, Joe Biden may win this election.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where I'm headed at right now.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm okay with it. I mean, you look. This is a free country. I think the people should choose. And if my vote doesn't get the guy I want, that's fine. We move forward. We do the best we can. We're not going anywhere. No matter who wins, we're still going to be fighting for what we care about. We're still going to be trying to push the policies that we want. We still have a Senate. We still have a House. It's not over no matter who wins. We're still going to fight the good fight. And that's what I think is most important.
All right. Well, brother, thank you so much for coming on. And tell my viewers how to find you. How do we get in touch with you?
Yeah. Javier show.
Say it twice.
Twice. That's Javier twice. In case
and it's not Javier, it's Javier.
Yeah. Thanks so much, brother, for having me
Thanks,
on.
Smalley. Hey, thanks for coming on again, Javier. It's always good to talk to you, and I appreciate your input, and I appreciate your perspective and your conversation and your friendship.
Yeah, man, we got much more to do. I want to debate with David and Michael with you if we can set that up at some point.
Ooh, let's do that.
That would be great.
That'd be fun. All right, thanks, Javier. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother.
All right.